Morning, everybody. Monday, greatest day ever. Not really. um, had a fun weekend. So in my town, they do. Again, I'm always messed up because I just got back from the gym. In my town this weekend, they did midget wrestling. It was so much fun. I bought tickets and I was just going to go out there all by myself and just do whatever. And that's part of what my healing process is, and my challenge to myself is going out and dating myself and just doing things and being brave enough to go to have steak dinners and go out and maybe even to like harvest festivals and amusement parks and art galleries and stuff, and just go by myself. Just do things. Later on, whenever the house sells, that'll be a lot easier because I'll be living closer to Sacramento and there'll be a lot more things going on. That's my plan. And, up where I live, a town, 3,500 people, there's not a lot going on. So you either go drive for an hour to go somewhere and go do something to find something, or you stick around here and you take whatever local stuff there's going on. So they had midget wrestling last night, and I bought tickets about a week and a half ago. Got front row seats, and it was really fun, man. It was fun. Not a big crowd of people showed up because again, it's a small town, but there was probably 300 people, I guess. And for the town I live in, I don't want to name it, but for the town I live in, that's a big event. It's a large gathering because I think the biggest ones we have is probably going to be the Christmas show, the lighting of the tree, the party, the festival, and stuff. And that's kind of a bigger deal because I think the more local, smaller towns. I know you're thinking, wow, smaller town, less than 3,500 people. Yeah, there are some around here. They come up and they go to that too, and we all kind of like hang out. But they take up one whole street and go around in a loop, and all them throwing candy and stuff. So it's really cool. I will miss the small town vibe whenever I have to move out of here. Then I have to. I choose to because I want to be closer to where work is and opportunity and hospitals. And honestly, the town I'm in is not a single person's town. Not really. I always was raised on farmland, not farm as in the traditional, but a ranch. We had llamas and alpacas and sheep and even two camels at one time. So I love land. Again, if you're from Texas or something watching this, my little chicken shit 5 acres that I grew up on probably won't be nothing to you. But where the town that we lived in, 5 acres was a good little piece of land, and you go out there and pee in your front yard, and nobody cares. That's what my dad used to always say. It's not your property unless you pee in your front yard. Nobody cares. Today's topic is going to be about the 5 stages of grief. And the reason why I wanted to touch on this is it's important to understand where you're at in the healing process and not to fake stuff, because when you fake stuff, like you try to take an external object, and I love the saying of mine, an external object to fill an internal void, you think you're healed and you think you're in another place where like, hey, I'm doing all right. But the truth is you're not. You're compressing the raw pain and pushing it down and then either deflecting or distracting, and it's not a real healing. It's not a way to move forward. You actually lose parts of yourself, and bit by bit as you travel, because life is always about moving forward. It really is. No matter what you're doing, time moves forward, your age moves forward, your health moves backwards as your death moves forward. So no matter if you're just sitting on the couch, things still move forward. And if you don't heal properly, you actually lose parts of yourself. Imagine it being walking through kind of like a storm, and the sand that hits your body, which is life's experiences. If you don't heal right, that sand can knock off little pieces of you. And as you keep, going forward and forward and forward, the sand's taking off more and more and more and more and more pieces of you. And you think you're doing good, but your only thing that you have left really when you get to the end is ego, and that's about it. You don't have much more to offer people or offer yourself, and ego's really bad. Ego's okay whenever it comes to competition, a little bit sometimes, I guess, but ego to me means edging God out. It's an acronym for edging God out. There's not a much of humility and gratitude in a body that's composed of ego. So when you cut parts of yourself off, you end up running on just the ego of yourself. And it's like, what do I get out of this? What do they think about this? What do I look like? What do I? I don't want to live like that. I really don't. And it's not that I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me, because I do care about that too. Matter of fact, probably more than I ever would want to admit, although I would admit it. What it comes down to is that I don't want to lose parts of myself. Every event that happens in a person's life is an opportunity to gain from it and to learn from it. And that's what I've chosen to do through this. And although I've came through really hard, the school of hard knocks a lot, and matter of fact, I punished myself more than anybody else has punished me. And, eventually when we get past this whole healing process and how to be able to navigate through divorce and everything. I'm going to get into a lot of other topics. Luckily, I got a lot of stuff to talk about, man. I'm a talker. I got a life experience of stuff. We'll get into other things too. And, it'll be from recovery to drug addiction to prison to, there's a lot, man. There's a lot to cover. And everybody's life is actually kind of like that too. I've always said that you can take any one person's life and with the right kind of music and the right kind of director, you can make an award-winning movie out of it. And that's true. I mean, we've watched movies like Castaway. Honestly, Castaway, who cares? That guy got stuck on an island. That's it. And then he got off the island. That's it. And then he had a package that he found and he got a package he delivered. That was it. That was it. But because it was written so eloquently and directed so eloquently, and Tom Hanks, he acted so good in it. It's like it was mesmerizing. He won an Academy Award for a guy on an island with a tennis ball, or not tennis ball, volleyball. And that was it. The storyline was just a dude on an island. Our lives are so much more deeper than that. The tapestry of who we are is crazy deeper than that. So back to the 5 stages of grief, and I went through all these, and it's not really always a stage too, because it's a cycle, and it could cycle back. It can go back and forth too. So you can be in 2, then go to 3, and then go to 1, then go to 4, then go to 5, go to 2, go to 3. So you could cycle back and forth, back and forth. But I think 5, we'll cover that. But I think 5 is the one where you go, huh? That's like one of the only ones where, huh? And I'm share a situation with you, and you'll go, huh, like that with me. So the very first one is denial. Obviously, if anybody knows the 5 stages of grief, it's denial. When my wife told me she wasn't in love with me anymore, I was in complete denial about it. I was like, no, no. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. No. There's no way. I'm too good of a person. I've done too much. We've got too much invested in each other. You love me too much. There's no way this is real. There's no way. I can't believe this is happening. And that lasted that whole day for sure when she first told me, because honestly, I was a nervous wreck. I was tore up, and I think you can go through stages really fast, even in an hour sometimes. But the first stage for me, obviously, was 100% denial. I didn't believe it was happening. I thought I was dreaming. I just couldn't believe it was real, 100%. And as it transpired through denial to reality crashing in on me, the one I skipped, and I don't know why that much, is going to be anger. I didn't have a lot of anger, but I will cover that a little bit more. But I want to go through the denial part. So denial for me probably lasted for 3 weeks to a degree. And the reason why I say that is because I begged her to stay. I told her I would change. I would do anything you wanted, and this is kind of like a little bit of 3 also. But denial to me was that I could change her. I didn't want to believe that I had no ability to change her. That's where denial was for me. And I'll tell you what I did whenever I got to the bargaining part. But I didn't believe I couldn't change her mind about me. I was in denial 100% about it. And I also didn't believe the signs that I saw. I've covered a couple different times in this video. A woman's heart is an ocean of secrets. And when she leaves you, she's already left you 6 months before that. Absolutely, without a doubt, 100%. Unless you're an abusive person, like I've said before. So denial for me lasted for at least about 3 weeks. And that's because I kept believing I can make her fall in love with me again. And she stayed, and I tried, and I did the things I did, and I thought it was going to be able to happen. And it didn't. And one Monday morning on October 27th, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I noticed that no matter what I did, the love wasn't reciprocating. It wasn't there. So I came up out of denial that morning, October 27th. So October 5th, I think it was, she told me she wasn't in love with me. I tried, 22 days. October 27th, that's when I woke up and I said, hey, I need to find out what's going on, because I can't give and not have anything back. I can't keep doing this to myself and not have nothing back. And I did everything. I mean, literally, I had to write down a piece of paper of the 5 major things to work on, and everything she named, I jumped on it right then and there, because I was all about trying to save my marriage, 100%, And so the denial ended with me probably 22 days. So let's just say 3 weeks to make it sound better. That's when it ended, because then that's when I approached her and said, what are you still doing here? Why are you still here? And she told me she was here just to make sure I was okay. And I told her that's not good enough. So when I surrendered that part, I moved past denial. Now, anger for me kind of happened a little bit around 3 to 2. It kept bouncing back and forth because I didn't go really bad with anger. I really didn't for some reason. And if I did, it was in isolated circumstances whenever I was at home by myself screaming into a pillow or punching something or being more upset with God, I think. I was more upset with God than anything because I prayed a lot, man. I started going to church, I was fasting, I was praying, I was taking self-help books, self-help courses, audio books, blah, everywhere. My whole life was consumed with this and that and that. So I think my anger was more with God because I didn't hear him. He didn't answer my prayers. He wasn't telling me anything. He wasn't getting me no comfort in everything I prayed for. I didn't get. So my anger was more with God than it was with my ex-wife, soon to be ex-wife. And, I blasphemed with him a little bit, why are you forsaking me? Kind of stuff. And, you know, my anger was mostly with God because I thought I surrendered and I thought I gave him everything that I could. And I prayed, my goodness, I prayed from parts of my soul and my body that just shook like never before. And I never had you ever see somebody go into convulsions? I had emotional convulsions. I think that's the only word. It's unstoppable, uncontrollable, unexplainable, erratic behaviors in my heart. And I do mean like my HRV and just everything about me was just tore up for a month, probably a month and a half. And so my anger was mostly at my God. I was mad at my ex because she put me in this circumstance too, where sometimes I would walk around and, the 2 Boston Terriers were still here and I would be mad at her because she put me here. I'm mad at this because she put me here. I'm mad at this because she put me here. How selfish. You're so selfish. You should have worked on it. Because part of me will always believe that it was a selfish move, and it's just how I am because I believe that love heals together. If you really, really do love somebody, the moment you feel like you're slipping away from that person, you should call them and I don't mean on the phone, but I mean, you have to do the gut punch sometimes. Don't just say normal stuff like, I wish we'd go out more, or, you should bake a pie for me. You have to say, hey, look, I'm not happy because you don't bake a pie. I really, really, really want a pie baked for me. And I've been telling you for a while. And if you don't bake a pie for me, it's really going to continue to hurt my feeling. You really have to take a serious step towards stuff. And when it's not affairs of the heart, but when it's connections on hearts and intimacy and stuff, and I believe that love is a garden. And if you really want something inside of that garden, both people have to plant it. Both people have to tend to it. It can't be just one person bitching about there's no rose garden or there's no rose bushes in the garden. Why didn't you put a rose bush? How come there's no rose bush? You can't do that. Both people have to work on that. So bargaining. I went to the anger, the God and the ex and stuff like that. Bargaining. So I did that with her and I did that with God too. So the 3 weeks I was talking about that I was going through the denial part, there was denial. Anger didn't come after that, which is weird. Anger came after bargaining because I was alone and isolated at that point. But my bargaining was with her. If I do this, would you stay? If I offered you that, would you do this? If I changed all this about me, would you love me again? Those aren't the words I said, but those are the things. I kind of said some of those words, but that's the actions that I took. I'm going to give you this and you just stay. I'm going to do this and you just stay. I wasn't even asking for her to really give me anything. I was asking for her just to stay. Just stay. Don't leave me. Please don't leave me, And I was so broken then, man. Looking backwards, I feel sorry for that guy. I really do. I wish who I am today, which again is only 110 days later. I wish who I am today could go and grab that dude and hug him and tell him, hey, bro, it's going to be okay, man. You're going to be all right. You're going to get through this. It doesn't matter about the house. It doesn't matter about that. It doesn't matter. None of that shit matters. You're going to be okay. It's not, 17-year marriage went down the toilet, but it's going to be okay. There's going to be other opportunities. There's going to be other people out there that are going to love you and you're going to find love again. You're not built. And I wish I could have did that because it would have helped me. But then again, it's that weird time thingy where if you go back and interact with your dad, would your dad not have you and this and that? So maybe if I did that to me, then I wouldn't be who I am today. So, but I could have used a damn hug back then. I'm not gonna lie for myself. So bargaining happened with my ex, and I keep saying ex because I have to train myself. She's still my wife legally, but bargaining happened with my ex at any level. I would have given her anything just to stay. I didn't ask her for, can you change too? And ask her, can you, be more this or be more that, or, do this or that, or whatever. I didn't ask her to change anything. I just asked her to maybe, oh, I know what I asked. I asked if we could cuddle 5 minutes every morning before we went, when we woke up, just hold each other. That's the only thing I think I asked of her, really. So I bargained with her and it still didn't work. There was, like I said, at 22 days, I didn't feel it the whole time. I didn't feel it the whole time. There were so many subtle things that she was just checked out. And she was being kind to me, you know what I mean? But she just wasn't feeling me. It's not like she was being mean to me. That happened much later. We'll go with that after the divorce is final. But she wasn't being mean to me. She couldn't bring herself to love me and to provide that kind of love that mattered whenever a man needs reassurance, like when a woman needs reassurance too. This isn't about gender. It's just about me being a man, what I needed, and her being a woman, what she needed. It just wasn't there. We would go out with friends and stuff like that, and I felt like I was with two couples. That's what I felt like. Her and someone else, and those two. That's what I felt like. I felt like even though it was four people, I felt like the fifth wheel. That's a different topic too, maybe. But so bargaining with her didn't work out. And then I bargained with God. During the time that she was here, God, please, however, stay. Please, please, God, and please, 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 I love you, I love you, I love you, blah, blah, blah. I'll give you anything, I'll do anything, I'll do anything. And I begged her to stay, begged her. That didn't happen. Then whenever she left, I begged God to bring her back. Please, God, please bring her back. I'll do anything, I'll do anything. I'm going to give you. And I was bargaining, literally in my mind, I was bargaining with him. I'm going to give you 4 Sundays for one dinner with my wife. I'm going to give you 7 hallelujahs on a weekday, not even on Sunday, on a weekday for lunch with my wife. I'm going to give you, if I can kiss my wife. And I did a lot of bargaining with God, and he still didn't answer, man. He still didn't answer. That's where my anger was getting towards God. I was like, oh, man, dude, really? Really? I'm making you a sweet deal here. 5 hallelujahs for one kiss. Good Lord, don't be a greedy God. And so I was getting mad. I was doing a lot of, this kind of stuff. And God still didn't answer. He wasn't there. So bargaining happened between my wife and ex-wife and God a lot. And then depression. That happened for probably a month and a half after she left. And remember, I was doing bargaining and anger and depression. Because I don't think you're ever clearly in one of them. It's kind of like they merge and mix, and then you finally get towards one more, and you get solely into one. Then the next one kind of merges into it, but you're always kind of like in 3. That's my experience. You're always kind of like in 3 of them. So depression was bad. It was really bad. That's where I'm telling you that I wish me, who I am today, could have went back and helped that man, because that man, it's like a little boy was in a plane crash, and all his family members died, and he was alone, and it was snowing, and he had some food to sustain himself, but he was alone, because again, I'm in a town of 3,500 people, nobody really around me, and I'm an hour away from anybody. And luckily there's phones and video and all that stuff, but the house is so damn quiet when you're alone and you don't have nobody to come over. And so I had my kids come over and my grandkids, and that's it. The whole time I've been up here all by myself. Nobody else has came over, except for a mutual friend to pick up paperwork to serve my ex, because I ended up filing for divorce on her. But so, the depression was real and it was overwhelming. And I did bargaining with God too then. Take me is where I was at that phase. End this pain or take my life. I don't want to be here. My depression was that strong. It was, people use the word palpable. Mine was literally like I was underwater. Every bit of everything, I felt it everywhere. I still showed up at work. I took some, I went to work. I had a nervous breakdown, so I took 4 days off once, but I still went to work, but I didn't feel there. I didn't feel anywhere. I didn't feel anything at all. Nothing except for pain and depression and sorrow and hopelessness and despair. And I don't want to say suicidal, but you guys, if you're going through this, you know what I'm talking about. I think the will to live is probably a proper term for it. I don't want to be flagged, and also don't want people to think that that's where I was. but the will to live was definitely taken away from me, or I surrendered it. Um, so depression was a really hard one to get through. And depression, luckily that's where I started reaching out, and I found like some of my friends that I've known for 35, 40 years. I started reaching out to them. They started reaching out to me, and there was a branch of people that started coming back into my life, mostly through Facebook and text messages, but then others in real world situations where I got to go visit them, hang out with them, and we do this and do that and that and kind of stuff. And so during my harder depression times, I luckily I had more people start to network around me. The whole time I've been doing video stuff with my son almost every week, or at least every other week. We would do video stuff, and we do self-help group courses and stuff, and it's been really a blessing to be able to have that kind of support. And honestly, Facebook has been a good place too. I know it's kind of pissed her off a little bit too, because I've said, hey, this and that and other stuff. I didn't name people off, but you know how the algorithms start feeding you stuff because it knows what you're looking at. And it was like, women that leave a good man. And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, boop, share, that kind of stuff. And I know it might have hurt her feelings, but at that point, that's what I needed. I needed to tell the world this is what I felt. And proper, improper, I don't know. Maybe mistakes were made on my end, but I stand behind everything I put up there, and I didn't delete anything. And when questioned by her, I said, yeah, I did that, and it goes probably 100 more. So I own my shit. But so, when I filed for divorce, she's asked to want to go to counseling to work things out every time. And I filed in December, a month and a half ago now. I filed a month and a half ago because there was just too much back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Coming home, not coming home, coming home, not coming home, coming home, not go. There's too much back and forth for me, and my heart couldn't take it no more. But when I filed for divorce, that's whenever I said, okay, this is, unless something comes from God and shows me a different path, or unless there's a totally different 360 from somebody else. And I don't mean just talking, because I was at the point where I understood then that love and all this other stuff, a relationship takes two people. The first month and a half, I blamed everything on me. It was all my fault, everything, 100%, groveling, begging, pleading, bargaining, crying, depression, this and that. But then after that, I go, hey, wait a minute, this is a two-person job. Where were you? I started noticing, where were you? Yeah, me too, but where were you? Where were we? We stopped doing that. Not just me. I wasn't the only one on my phone. I wasn't the only one that, we both gave up or surrendered and got complacent. And that's the saddest thing ever, because honestly, to this day, I still hurt when people don't make it 100%. Not just me, but other people, because at one point there's a person that you're leaving or is leaving you that you would have died and killed for. You don't get into a long-term relationship and marriage thinking that this is not going to be your forever person. It's sad that stuff doesn't work out. But also it's about life lessons. You get better, and hopefully the next relationship, you healed properly, and you go on date and do booty calls and all this other stuff to mask that pain. Because remember, walking through the sandstorm, you lose little pieces of you. So, I accepted she is who she is, and I accepted I am who I am. But the thing that happened Friday, which is just literally like 3 days ago, I got up and I was sad. And it's a different kind of sad this time. And I'm going to share it with you guys, because there's a 6 stage of grief. And it's indifference. And indifference is a little weird to be in, because at least with acceptance, you still have a certain amount of, I'm in love, or I was in love, or I was this and that, or this and that. But indifference is, it's a little sad. You know what I mean? It's a little sad to be in that spot. And that's where I was Friday, and I still feel like that today. Indifference basically means I don't care anymore. I'm fond of memories that we had, but whatever you do to me doesn't hurt me anymore. Whatever you try to entice me with isn't pleasing anymore, isn't appealing anymore. And I'm sad for me not wanting to care anymore about this person. And that's where the indifference is. Not wanting to get back together with them, but I'm sad that I don't even have that feeling anymore. That after almost 17 years, that feeling is gone. Now, it may come back because, the pendulum thing and all this other stuff. Remember, like I told you, all the stages of grief, there's probably 3 that rotate around, but you're still, if you do it the right way, you're always going to migrate towards the end. But, and I may go back to acceptance, or I may go back to, I don't think I'm going to go to depression. I still have 2 more big hurdles: to sell the house and the actual going to court for the divorce. So there's those 2 hurdles. So I'm not going to lie to myself and say, oh no, it's a cakewalk from now on. But that's still 2.5 months away, 2 months, 5 days. And I mean, we'll see what happens then. But right now I'm indifferent, and it's a weird place to be. It really is, because, you know, I don't care. I don't care. You can't hurt me. I don't feel it. I don't want to feel it, nor am I really looking at it. And, you know, like, things are making me feel good now. You know, like whenever I was watching the damn midget wrestling, I was laughing. I was really, really laughing. I was having fun. Not the fun to distract or detour or to take my mind off of something. I was living my next phases of my life. You know, when I went out for Fran and we were walking around down in Sacramento Friday, going to flea markets and stuff, I was in my next phase of my life. I wasn't finding things to avoid pain, to avoid depression, to avoid denial. I was already stepping into the next phase of my life, and I recognized that. My soul recognized that. And I was already in my next phase of my life. Do you guys understand what that is? I'm not, you know, because I talk about putting one foot in front of the other all the time. But when you're in the next phase of your life, you're now the new Corey, or whatever your name is. You're now the new Corey. You built from the pain. You built from the experience. And there's a period where indifference comes. And I think that's where you start learning that you're now building the new life. And it's sad in some ways, because I guess it's a lot like when, I don't even know if, no, I was going to say it's like when Rose let go of Jack and he went underneath the water. But not even then, because she loved him still and was in love with him, but she had to save herself. I think that would probably be acceptance part. You know, but indifference is different. It's a strange place to be, but I'm going to categorize it as basically you're now stepping into your new life. You know, this is Corey's new world, and slowly but surely, there's going to be things that I'm going to let go from the old world that will start, like the house, like the stuff that I've accumulated over, you know, the 17 years. The pictures of this and that will go into, either be thrown away or go into deep, deep, deep storage somewhere and probably never touched again. And whenever I die, my grandkids will throw them away because they don't care. But most of the trinkets and the things that I want to hold on to, not because they have intrinsic value or emotional value, but because I should, which is kind of a weird place to be too. You know, those will go into deep, deep, deep storage. It's kind of like the memories of all kinds of stuff goes deep into your heart, and, you know, indifferent towards that too, to a degree. Again, I'm not bagging up the stuff just yet. I have a lot of my shit out in the garage, and I'm going to start Facebook marketing my stuff and start moving on. And maybe that'll have, oh man, you know, when I see a marriage certificate or something like that, maybe that'll affect me. But I am now walking into the new Corey. I'm now walking into the new life. And I'm not saying it as a way, it's a mantra to make me feel good about changing. It's because that's the reality, and that's what I got sad about. Because I'm like, this is my new life without my ex in my heart or my head, and I'm walking forward. So, guys, 5 stages of grief with the extra one, indifference. When you guys have any questions or anything like that, because one day somebody's going to start watching this stuff, and they may have questions. And if they don't, that's okay, because it feels good for me to let it all out. And when you do, I'm here, and I'll answer everything I can. And I could even give you guys my emails at some point. So have a great day. It's Monday.